Hello, everybody. We are back, and it is the long run live cast. Here we are on YouTube and hopefully Facebook. We've got a bit of a different situation this week because Toby, our tech guru, is he's got a good job or something. I don't know.
Apparently he's got work or something. We'll come on to Toby in a minute, but yeah, apparently he's got a job. Whatever that means.
So he's off doing other stuff on a Friday night. What he'd want to be doing other than that, listening and chatting with us on the Friday night at 7 o'clock, I don't know. But the good news is that we've put the substitute board up and we've alerted the fourth official. And Chris is back after his party shenanigans last week.
I am back after spending a wonderful weekend with my daughter on her birthday. But Friday night I was out with 10-year-olds. I felt sorry for everybody else in the restaurant because they caused mayhem. But I tell you what, got to give a big shout out. #NotPaid Smoke Shed in Hoddesdon. Unbelievable food. Unbelievable. Therefore, we need a long run team meeting down at the Smoke Shed in Hoddesdon. Can't recommend it.
Good. That's going to be about 2 or 3 miles from my new gaff once I've moved. So
yeah, there we go.
I'm quite surprised you didn't drag them all to McDonald's, mate.
No, it was. You know what? It's really, really good. It was really. I'm not just saying that. It was blinding food.
See, you don't you don't just get running advice on here. You get great pointers about restaurants in the east of Hertfordshire. You know, you've come to the right shop. We just tick so many boxes. But so Chris is. What this means is Chris is not only being the most forthright, opinionated influencer in the running game, but he'll also be our technical guru this evening. So basically, if your messages are not coming up, or people are ignoring you, or we disappear off Facebook like we did the other week, it's nothing to do with me. I don't know.
I've basically got all the Toby's toys here that I'm just working. Well, I'm not working out. I'm just having a look at what the hell I'm doing. And if it crashes at one point, we blame Toby. And actually, we need to, because we are a bit concerned. We got sent this through from Richard Head earlier because he was concerned about Al, but he's actually emailed this in. He's been very kind, Richard, and he's put this up. So if you could share this, I'm just going on the podcast. Obviously, it's not going to work. We'll describe it in a minute. But Richard Head sent this through for us. So if anybody on Facebook could grab that and share it on their Instagram, it's a picture of Toby, who used to work here on the podcast, that he's missing. Last seen in the Portaloo. And the reward, which I think is a lot of money for Toby, is 50p. Richard Head is willing.
If anybody wants to put up any more, feel free.
Yeah, he's willing to give 50p if you find young Toby who's in the Portaloo. And actually, while we're throwing stuff up, let's have a look at this. This is a question of the cast. So everybody who is on YouTube and Facebook tonight, because we are live on Facebook, I want you to have a look at this picture, and then I want you to guess how many cakes Vegan Alan actually ate. Now that's dessert last weekend. There is I'll give you what's the best way? I'll give you a tip. It's more than one and it's less than 10. But it was quite a few. Now for people on the podcast, I put a picture up of Alan looking very dapper.
That's a nice whistle, Al.
Thank you.
Is that 2 plates or 4 plates? I can't see.
Do I have a right to reply?
No, you can't.
Because there is a reason.
Let us know in the comments, and if you're watching or listening on the podcast, email us at Wilco. What is it?
What is it?
I don't know. Hang on, Tobe's got a thing.
It's longrunShow at
longrunShow@gmail.com. Someone post attention.
Alan's here, by the way, everybody. Sorry about this, Al. You know, we're not sort of like hiding you under the stairs or anything and just bringing you out for special occasions. You know, we do see you as an integral part of the operation.
Right. I'm looking at my Strictly scores. I'm doing well. I've got some 8s and 7s and 9s, so I'm doing all right.
Someone's gone 4 though. Room for improvement there, mate.
That must be Craig.
Definitely. Yeah, we've got a 9.5. He reckons it was vegan friendly or something, but. Again, it's a bit of a duotone.
I'm not going to let this go because I've got to respond. I think everyone should have a right to reply. 2 things. It may look like all the plates were stacked up, but I was just helping the waitresses get ready to clear.
Oh.
And secondly, my mains was basically a cold plate of rice. So I had to find my carbs somewhere.
Really?
So there you go. That's how it happened.
I mean,
Chris, you took him out and gave him a cold plate of rice.
That's a good blag. I mean, to be fair, that is a good black. But all I would say is it was more than 4.
And they were all vegan because I had to eat Chris's because he was served a vegan one.
Actually, they try to give it to me. I make you laugh. They try to give it to me. I've never eaten something so disgusting in all my life. It was disgusting. It was anyway. It was good. But we're not here to talk about vegan cakes. We are here to work out how many cakes Alan did eat and where Toby is. But we are here to talk about a bit of running. Believe it or not.
So, how's your week been then, mate? You did a bit of Royal Parks action the week after your marathon. How'd that go?
I need to talk about Royal Parks, and everybody sit down. And actually, while we're on the question, stick in the comments, stick in the chats, email us in at the email that Wilco can't remember. We want your feedback on the Royal Parks half marathon, Manchester marathon. Very interested to know how you got on there, and how you found that, and some of the other events last week. So can you stick it in there and let us know what you found and how you got on? We know Petra got a PB, so well done, Petra. Big shout out.
Yeah, smashed it. She's showing us all up again, making us all look crap.
Yeah, but PB Petra, yep, she's done well. But yeah, this week I've actually taken my foot right off the gas this week. Still not feeling very not 100%. So I ran at club Tuesday, ran at club Wednesday, and I actually have not ran since deliberately. I'm trying to manage what I'm going through. So where I can, just taking my foot off after Royal Parks. I did that, which was right. Let's just put this into perspective. Right. Firstly, I had a great time at Royal Parks because I ran with Hayden, who we've had on the channel. Big shout out to Hayden.
Not in the panda suit.
No, not in the panda suit this time. I was cruising around about mile 1 or 2, and he came along, which was just great. And I had the pleasure of spending the rest of the morning with him. And I saw a load of other 40 runners out there. And most importantly, all our volunteers at the end. Was just fantastic to see all that. So that was the highlight of the day, spending the time with Hayden and seeing the guys. But this business from Royal Parks about being COVID secure, baggage drop, and all this sort of stuff, I've never heard so much nonsense and seen so much contradiction in all my life. The vlog is out on Sunday, which is a good plug, by the way, #plug. But it is chaos. It was chaos there. It was like, it was just people everywhere. It was madness. And they held you all in pens. They got you doing these massive warm-ups like it was the Great North Run. They held you there for so long. And you was like, like it used to be, which I ain't got a problem with, right? But, you got a geezer next to you who's going up and down doing his warm-up, and you've got people kicking you behind because they're that close. And they held you. And then they kept moving you forward. Then they'd hold you again for 15 minutes. And the geezer on the microphone was talking absolute nonsense about Royal Bank of Canada, like we care. Just send people off and let's reduce the risk of COVID. I've never seen such a load of hypocrisy in my life. The fact that they wouldn't let us do a bag drop because they're worried about COVID and touch points. And then they held us all in the pens for about 3 days and had no cares about, checking people or worrying about this. It was just complete and utter madness. It really annoyed me because of the pain in the bum they made it with no bag drop because of COVID. And it was
so. Was the main problem then? So was the main problem the fact that not the way that people were held in pens, but the fact that they'd made such a song and dance about the restrictions and things like that, and then everything just sort of like went out the window as soon as people got there.
Yeah, it was the same old thing. They do it, and the route, right? They changed the route. I don't know why that was. It took us 7K or 4 odd miles to get into Hyde Park, and then all we did was just do a park run around Hyde Park. I don't know. It irritated me more for the people who'd been put out by the bag drop, and 2, because of the if it was your first one, I don't think you'd actually get the full Royal Parks experience because it's such a good event when it does take place, right? That it was just such a shame that they gone through these steps, but actually when they got there, it was so disregarded of COVID. I'm not taking anything. I really enjoyed the event, and I know other people really enjoyed it, but it annoys me when I see that these events are trying to do all this stuff, and actually when you go to the event, they totally disregard it all. And I think it's it's not on, to be honest. And I watched the video on Sunday. You'll see what I mean. Oh, and that was the other thing. They had all the cock up with the t-shirts at the end. Al, talk about that, because I mean, Carolyn was on duty, wasn't she?
I'm on mute. I'm not on
Hey.
So I didn't run Royal Parks. I'd been spending the morning at the home of football, running laps around the Emirates, but that's another story.
It's not the home of football.
It is the home of football. It's one of the homes of football anyway. But I got there towards the end of the race, just as they were beginning to, close things down. And there'd been an issue with T-shirts. So great T-shirt. I think it looks fantastic, the design. But in this day and age where political correctness comes into play, there was a male version and a female version. And those of us that have kind of made that mistake know they tend to be a different cut, a V-neck, slightly narrower fit. But it was a decision from the organisers at the last minute, apparently, to then not enforce a male-female T-shirt split. In itself, not an issue, except for they run out of the larger T-shirts. So if you was a larger male or a larger female coming over the line, a bit behind everyone else, you didn't have much choice. So there was a few disappointed runners, to say the least. And it left the volunteers in a difficult situation because they couldn't explain why, when there's a pile of T-shirts, not the right size, why people wasn't going home with their souvenirs.
Yeah, it always falls upon the people front of house, doesn't it? That's the trouble with these sort of things, that there's someone giving up their time who's, trying to enjoy the best and do the best that they can for people, and then they're in the firing line. I mean, I've been in that situation before at other runs. The second half I did with St Albans, and I'm no Slim Jim 2021, and by the time I'd finished, they'd also had a 5K and a 10K that day, and they were giving out T-shirts to everybody. And by the time I got there was no extra larges left, so that was a bit of which, I mean, fortunately, I've gone on and done lots of runs since. But if that had been my first one and my first experience, then I might have thought, well, this is not what I signed up for. I'm not really interested in doing this again. It's not so great. So it's a shame, really, that. I mean, they're obviously getting the run on is the most essential thing. And like you said, Chris, there was a good turnout and people did enjoy themselves. But they've got to look after these little things, and they've also not got to they've got to do less of a song and dance to please authorities and insurance people and things like that, and just tell people what's going on and what they can expect. I think people don't like the way the world has been in the last 18 months, people have put up with all sorts of restrictions and things like that. And frankly, they tend to be compliant when they know what's going on and they know why people are doing it. So if you tell people that and then you stick to it, then people will know. It's when things go out of the window and people aren't on message, that's when people get upset and people get ill and people get uncomfortable. Yeah. So hopefully we'll soon get through the stage where we don't have to worry about this sort of thing too much.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, again, well, I'm not here to hammer the organisers, and I appreciate that they had to get the event on. And the most important thing is a load of charities, again, like the Great North Run, made money out of it. They got some much needed funds, unrestricted funds that they can use into their services, right? And that's really, really, really important. Don't take anything from what I'm saying is that I'm having a go at the race itself and what it stands for, and I'm appreciative. But it just annoys me when I see the contradictions in place. There was nobody even making an effort to test anybody. And the fact that they literally just held you in these pens for so long before you needed to. And London Marathon, right? And we know how much I love London Marathon events as a company, but they nailed it at the London Marathon. They opened the wave and you just walked out and off you went. It was brilliant. And why the Royal Parks decided to do a mass warm-up and then hold everybody and then move them down to the mile for, we had to walk about 3 miles to get to the start and then hold everybody again for 15 minutes. It absolutely made no sense. But anyway,
I think surely we've got to the stage now looking since the post-COVID, all the big races that have happened. We've had the Great North Run, we've had the landmarks, we had the London Marathon and various other things. You would have thought that people would get together and see how organisations would do it. And by now, we would have a best fit system. Somebody would have cottoned on to the way to do it. And then they just do the same thing all the time, which would be helpful, not only for the people, it'd be helpful for the organisers, it'd be helpful for the volunteers who have to administer it, and it'd be helpful for the people who are running. So everybody knows where they are.
Yeah, we've got to give a shout out to Fletch and the team for this weekend because they've got the Great South Run.
Oh, yes.
That's taking
10
place.
miles
Now,
around Pompey.
If I remember rightly, that is it 10 miles or something like that?
I think it is 10, yeah.
It's a funny old one, isn't it? So, so just this weekend, I hope everybody stays safe and enjoys that. Right, Al, we've got any questions? Let's kick things off.
Yeah, well, we've had a few comments in already about the two big runs over the weekend. So Gavin Braden was at Royal Parks. Like you, I think he found the start a little bit frustrating. That's not the words he used. But he did say, big up for the crowd and coming all the way over from Belfast. He certainly thought it was an event worth attending once you got over that start line. Manchester, some lovely comments coming in from people that run Manchester. Even Karen, I think it's you, Karen. Mile 14, your knees went. I think that might be Karen, our friend Stella. But we've got a question in from one of our YouTubers, Barside. He doesn't say which marathon didn't go quite so well in September, but he's looking for redemption in April. So how's he going to stay motivated for that length of time, in terms of working up a new training plan and finding the motivation to go out in the cold? What other tips you got for him, Chris?
How is the best things to keep going? Maple.
Brighton didn't go so well, but he's coming for Manchester in April.
Okay, so I take it the plan starts in January. I'm guessing for Manchester, doesn't it? I don't know the timings.
That would sound
January.
about right. Yeah, April.
Yeah, personally, I would set yourself a goal. So whether it be a 5K PB you're looking to smash, or maybe a 10K, give yourself a mini goal to start chasing. Work on some of that speed as well, because that'll set you up ready for when your training plan begins. But I would set yourself a mini goal between now and when your training plan starts. And the best way is to chase the time, and whether it be part run, whether it be 10K, sign up for a 10K. I'm signed up to do the remembrance one. I don't know whether I'll actually be able to do it now, but the plan was for me to run that and try and chase the time. There was a chap called Toby who used to help us out on the podcast. Apparently he was going to do that as well. But yeah, so give yourself a goal, one to get you motivated, but also more importantly than anything else, give you some focus in your training, because otherwise you can end up just making sort of not great use of your time. You just sort of plod along, same pace, same runs, same routes, and it's all.
And what have we had now? Is it 4 weeks we've had since Brighton? It's about a month, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Brighton. 4 weeks,
I mean, that's I would think, from a mental perspective, that's. You've probably had enough time to digest about what didn't quite work for you, what did. Have a little think about what you might like to change and how you might be able to rectify stuff. And just, don't sit about and just get out there and do a bit. I think just tick along until Christmas and see how it goes.
Yeah,
I think just to build up a little body, just try and enjoy your running and not worry about what's gone on before, because you can't do anything about it now, but you just try and learn from the experience.
Oh, 100%. And that's the thing with marathons, right? I'm still learning now. I don't count myself as a particularly strong marathon runner at all, actually. I think you learn so much over that 26.2 miles about yourself, about where you are, where your training went wrong, because it shows up. Like, as I said, I knew at 20 miles that I hadn't done the training. Actually, I haven't said this because I haven't been on the show last week, but, at 20 miles, the reason I backed out there is because those 4 weeks that I effectively missed through, the problems I had, that's where that shows up, because I didn't have that conditioning and that speed and that stamina built in that I lost over those critical four weeks, is where it shows up if you're going for a time. So, if you're going to finish, then fine, don't worry about it. But and that's the thing, and I learned that, and I the only reason I knew that was going to be the case is because I'd done some in the past, and that's the thing. It's a learning process. Marathons, it's a real hard event to crack, right? Marathon people, I've had clients this week talking about, I didn't do this and I'm worried about this and I didn't get there. And I had one client of mine in the not so when a chap who I was helping was in the US, and he missed his PB by, I don't know, 6 or 7 minutes. And I went, what are you worried about? I mean, it is what it is. I mean, don't hark on the fact, it's still a long way and you were 6 minutes out. That's incredible. That is, take the positives out of what you achieved. And then, use all that information and that, that memory to make you better and make you stronger for next time. I think we do get, as runners, caught up a lot about times and chasing PBs and chasing certain things. And sometimes it's the right time to go for it, and other times it's not. So you do learn a lot from these things, I would say.
Yeah, well, best of luck, mate. Anyway, you can. Well, I'm sure you'll bounce back. You chased a 3 hour 30 minutes, so you obviously a decent runner of a good standard. I'm sure you've learned from your experience, and you'll be able to bounce back pretty swiftly. Now, there were some funny old things going on at Manchester this week, weren't there?
Oh yeah, there was a chap who jumped or helped. What was the story there?
Yeah, I like this one. Now, this is a proper good news story. There was a poor guy who, Hassim Ahmed, who's a blind runner. His guide had blisters and cramp at 18 miles, and so he couldn't carry on. So of course, this poor guy, who's a very good runner. He's done Ironman and all sorts of things, but he's stuck in the middle of Manchester. So he stood there for about a couple of minutes thinking, what am I going to do? And then he just said, I know what I'll do. I'll just ask the next bloke who comes along. And he asked this guy who turned out to be from a guy called Stuart Whitehouse. And fair play to Stuart. He says, yeah, no problem, mate. I'll take you. And he saw him home for the last 8 miles.
Amazing, isn't it? What a legend. Lovely. What a legend. That's what we like.
And they said, they made sort of friends for life for that 8 miles. That just says so much about the sort of people who are involved in the running community.
I think that sums up the running community in general, actually. You've obviously got your exceptions to the rule. I've spoke about them in the past where they're all elitists and up their own rear ends, and they don't want, they want you sitting at the back because you're too slow. But then 99% of runners out there are just incredible people raising money for charity and doing stuff like that, And as you say, those guys are going to have a bond forever. And it's like Sabrina and Claire, for example, where they ran London. They're always going to remember that. And it's, they're the sort of things that you don't take away, because again, like I said earlier, a marathon is a long bleeding way, people. It's a massive achievement. And that's just a great story.
Yeah, and having my journalistic hat on, I did detect what I thought was a rather tall story about the Manchester Marathon, that the guy who turned up too late to run the half marathon, so they let him run the marathon instead. Did you see that?
No, I did see that, yeah. But talking about stories, and it's one that's caused a little bit of ag, I know, in the Facebook group. And if you're not part of the Facebook running community, if you're watching on YouTube, then make sure you join that. Good plug, FORDY. I love this, by the way, Ben Notley. I came here to see Toby, and I'm very disappointed. Ben,
sorry, Ben.
You do me a favour?
No refund, mate.
Can you share this online? Because we're worried about him. Sorry, podcast listeners, I've just put up the missing program again. But yeah, there was that story about those two cheating people from the husband and wife, wasn't it? That caused a lot of ag.
They got caught, and they'd never got caught if they hadn't got their picture, if they hadn't run together and had their picture next to each other.
I mean, if you're going to cheat, right? And I'm not saying you should at all, and I condone what they do 1,000,000%. They're a couple of idiots. But if you're going to cheat, why do it so obviously and then get your picture taken? You've got to be nuts, and yeah.
Well, there's the controversy. Some of us have run week after week, month after month, never get a decent shot. The 1 week you cheat, you're all over it.
You're all over it.
That would have been me. Yeah, it would have been the best running picture I've ever had.
Actually, they're talking about running pictures, because I'm really annoyed about this. Shock. I went on to get my marathon photos because I've got some proper airtime with my marathon shot. I did a it's not comparison to a Stu Edwards or a Hell's Bells, but I did my best effort and I got some proper air. I went on to buy it, and I basically then had to ring up the Halifax and remortgage. It was outrageous how much, and even Royal Parks, it was like 23 quid or 24 quid for a picture. Now I know the photographers have got
for one picture.
Yeah. Now and it's a download. Now, I appreciate that the photographers have got to make some money, right? And they've been out of work, blah, 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 COVID. I accept that. Freelance, they were one of the people who got absolutely killed during COVID, right? But to turn around and say, it's a score to download this picture, I think is again, a liberty on the basis that you go for an amazing event like a run-through event, which is 25 quid or whatever it is in London, and they give you them for free.
Mm.
So a big event that is raising millions for charity, right? And even London Marathon events, I go back to my point, how much money London Marathon events made out of the virtual London Marathon, right? 50,000 people, about £4 a medal. You do the maths, 25 quid entry. And they still charge you for the photos. I think if you're a charity runner, right, at London Marathon or Royal Parks, you should be giving your pictures for free. It's my opinion.
That's completely reasonable. Yeah,
I think that's above and beyond. The London Marathon Events Trust or whatever charitable trust must have billions for the amount of money they made from everyone. Why not give everybody their picture or one picture for free? Why not?
And also, when charities have obviously had a very hard time and they need support and everything. But the charities, if you're running in a charity vest, the charities will use the pictures of you in sort of promotional.
Absolutely,
stuff,
we do. We do
like
the charity. We take the pictures and we use them for social media purposes, for newsletters, for essential, marketing purposes to get the message out there that these incredible people are going out of their way to raise money for us as a charity. And they've got to pay 25 quid for a photo or whatever London was like 60 quid for all of them. They can do one. Honestly,
so when you use them transitions, when you use them on your social and all that sort of thing, do you pay for them?
No, we get supplied by like the runners. So, for example, the amazing Claire and Paula who ran London, they gave us a photo each, which was just amazing.
Oh, I see. So you get them you don't get them from the organizer or the photographer. You get them directly from the runner.
No, because we can't afford to send a photographer to London for the day. Some of the bigger charities, right? Like at Royal Parks, they had volunteers who were taking pictures. So let's say you're a big charity that you're funded, but part funded probably by the government. You've got 20%. So COVID didn't necessarily hit you as much because you were still getting money from the government. Thanks very much. It's the smaller charities that get absolutely robbed, blinders by this sort of stuff. The bigger charities are still supported by the government, so they're still able to keep the lights on effectively. Don't get me wrong, they still suffered, right? But they have photographers. So when we was going around, like the big charities, Alzheimer's, Whiz Kids and all that, they had a volunteer taking pictures. So they would then use that for promotional material, which is great. But I still think, my personal opinion is that one, they should be included in your race fee, because you think how much Royal Parks is to enter that. I think it's just a liberty in itself, and you get a wooden medal. And two, if you're running for a charity, I think Royal Parks, London Marathon events, and any of these other money grabbing events should give the charity runners at least one free picture.
Yeah, and the people who take the photographs, they should get a flat fee, and and it should come out of the London Marathon events budget.
Yeah, 50,000 people, £4 a medal, 25 quid. You do the maths, and then work that out, and then let me know why they're charging.
I see Sabrina said that somebody kindly bought her pictures for her. So, hey, that's a nice one to put in your Christmas card list, isn't it? What a Christmas list. Why don't you say to someone, oh yeah, if you want to buy me something for Christmas, you could buy me all my marathon pictures. I'll put a plug out now for all the ones that I'm going to do on Sunday at the Yorkshire Marathon. If anybody wants to
email in.
Yeah.
What's your email address?
longrunShow@gmail.com.
Boom. We had any questions coming in?
Well, we've got some more comments. Our man JBS on YouTube, and I don't think we can answer this because none of us were actually at the Manchester Marathon. Seems to think they were down on marshals and the organisation of the full marathon wasn't as good as the half. So we'll take some comments if anyone noticed that numbers were down from marshals. We've got Aaron on that issue of photos. He donates his money that he would buy photos to charity. So that's a good way of kind of making sure the charities get a little bit more. In terms of questions, we're moving into darker, wetter, colder days and nights. And John Ald wants to know, are you a cross-country runner, Chris? We know about your trails, we know about your road, but what about cross-country? Fancy the mud?
I like cross-country, although I'm not very good at it, and I would like to do more of it. Funnily enough, it's not cross-country, but we're heading up to the trails tomorrow to do a bit of prep for Snowdon, and we are going across country, and we're having to do some of that sort of stuff to get there because we don't want to get run over by all the people on the road. So yeah, I would love to do more of that, but I think it's more a question of where I live. Actually, it's not that accessible, but I like to see those cross country races and stuff.
Yeah, I think out in Essex there's quite a big cross country program.
Yeah. Ronnie O'Sullivan's big into it, isn't he?
Yeah. I know quite a few of the Wickford and Chelmsford runners.
Yeah, I'd like to have a go at it.
Cross country.
Do you have to train?
Takes me back to school days, though. That's the only trouble.
Do we have to train differently?
You get none of this sort of like start pacing. You pace your way and ease your way into it. Do you? Everyone goes out like a bat out of hell and ploughing through sort of fields and stuff. I don't know if I've reached that standard yet. I think I'd find that a little bit grim.
Yeah, no, it's I don't know. I quite fancy the idea. Actually, Kim's just made a good point. I'll make Kim right, and somebody else commented that the photographers, they spend a lot of time uploading it now. That's our point. Is the fact that I appreciate that they should be getting paid, especially because they were big time in COVID. I think that but they should be employed by the bigger events who are absolutely milking it, and should be actually probably paid more. And
I was definitely not saying that the photographers, weren't worth the money or anything like that at all. Quite the opposite, really.
Yeah.
As somebody who works in the media and works with photographers every day, I know how much hard work that they put into their craft when they're covering all sorts of events, particularly in the digital age where they're expected to produce hundreds and hundreds of pictures when 6 or 7 used to do the job, and you just used to pick one of them, and that was the one that went into the paper. These days those days are completely gone. So yeah, I would like to think that they're paid a very decent amount of money to spend their day to reflect the gigantic amount of work that they'll have to produce on a Sunday to cover a marathon or any big event.
No, they should be looked after, I think. But as I say, I still think that the big events who are caning it should give the charity runners a picture for free. I think that's the least they can do with those big events. We had someone was saying that they thought Manchester, and I apologise, by the way, put my hands up. Toby usually puts a link into Facebook, right, about how we find out who's who. I've got absolutely no idea to do it, right? So I apologise now. If you can find Toby, and we can get him back. I mean, he could be in prison, could be kidnapped, or he could just be locked in a Portaloo. But if we manage to get him back, we will find out how we can do that in terms of finding out who's who. So for now, you're just going to be Facebook user. They said that organisation was fantastic at Manchester. Didn't seem to be a lack of marshals. I suppose it's all about your event, how it went for you, isn't it? Because as I said, some people at Royal Parks might have not found that it was claustrophobic and everyone was on top of each other. That might just be my perception. So everybody's different. I think that's the key point. Al, over to you, big boy.
Questions.
Anything coming in?
Yeah, we're back onto shoes. We missed you last week. Ian and I had to kind of blag our way around release dates and reviews, so we're back on it. Facebook anonymous. Speed to Run Shield. Any ideas on a release date?
They came out. They were out, and I know they're in a few local running stores.
They're already out.
But it's like anything. There's a bigger problem out there in terms of running shoes at the moment for distribution. So I'm lucky enough that obviously I have a lot of relationships with a lot of the shoe companies, but also a lot of the agencies that look after the shoe companies. And it's the same message from all of them, that it's tough at the moment in the UK to get a lot of the latest releases and shoes and things like that because of Brexit, because of problems in Asia, because of the lack of drivers that we all know about, because of the petrol and all this kind of stuff. The whole sort of chain to get things into the country is proving difficult for certain things. So they have a limited stock, and once they're gone, they're gone. And some of the brands aren't even bringing stuff to the UK. So I'll give you an example. Asics, the Blast or the gel, whatever it's called, the Kinsei, the Kinsei, which is out in Australia, out in the US. It's a have a look. It's a plated shoe and all this sort of stuff. That's not coming to the UK because they can't get it here. It's the same with the Skechers Speed Freak, which is available readily in the US. And obviously, you guys know I love Skechers. Can't get that here. Saucony limited run on some of their shoes. Nike, the same principle in certain sizes. Al, you'll probably feel some of this. But there's limitations in what's coming in to the country. So it's across all the board. So if you're asking about the Run Shield, they definitely had them here in the UK, and definitely some of the smaller running shops got them. But once they were gone, kind of thing. And you've just got to wait until they get restocked. So it is a bigger problem out there.
Right. Next question, again on shoes, and I think Mrs. Fordy might have an interest in your answer. So I'm warning you now, Chris, think carefully before you answer this one. So Barside is back. He wants to know what you do with your old running shoes. Obviously, he didn't get on with his Glide Ride. He sold them on eBay, got a decent price by the sounds of it. But what other ideas have you got for people to do with those shoes that have just reached their sell-by date?
I give them to charity. I donate them to the charity. It's what I do with the shoes. That just works for me because I feel like I'm actually trying to do something useful with them. So I hope somebody, in that chain where that takes place, that they actually get some value out of them and it goes to somebody who actually needs them. There is, I'm working on a little project. I think I told you about it, but I won't go into it. But I'm working on a little project about what running shoes, old running shoes as well, which we're trying to work on. Kind of funny thing that will come out on the YouTube channel soon. But yeah, I give them to charity. Basically, I think that's the long short of it. I think try and give them to a better home where I can.
Yeah, I think
my man wears all mine, walking the dog. And
that's true. The chairman, by the way, is massively long of Skechers. Whenever he comes over, he always goes home with a new pair of Skechers. He loves them.
I also say hang on to your shoes because I think it's runners need have a perhaps 2 or 3 times a year have an offer, don't they, where you can take some old shoes back and get some money off your new ones and
trade them in.
Well, I did it once. I had 2 pairs of Brooks, and they were both yellow, and I took 2 left feet in, and they still took them. I hadn't realised until I got to the shop that there weren't a pair. They were 2, but that would explain some of my running. So there you go. Keep hold of them.
Oh dear, what did they say, Al?
They just took them and kind of just, raised their eyebrows.
I think the biggest question there, Al, is that you had yellow shoes and not white.
I know that was in the old days. That was before. So
that was before the obsession.
Past. Yeah. Ravenna's didn't come in white. Otherwise, I've had them all over it.
But don't you find, Brooks? So I've been chatting. I mean, we're a bit shoe focused. We'll get off it in a sec. But I mean, guys, let us know in the comments. I just find Brooks shoes. They're so. I keep saying it in some of the videos, and people have picked up on it. They're so 1987. They haven't changed. They're like, like a Porsche that hasn't changed over. It looks the same. What is it?
But
they haven't changed. They're just so. Apart from the Hyperion Tempo, which they did a great job with, they all look the same. I mean, you could literally Google it, right? Like a Ghost 9, and then look at the Ghost 14. They're exactly the same shoe. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of.
Yeah, but it's obviously in 1987 we're wearing Nike Wimbledons like John McEnroe and the Diodora Golds, stuff like that. But, I mean, I like Brooks. If you like what you like, surely you don't want them to be tampered with and
every man for themselves. Whatever they say, that saying is whatever works for you. And I'm a big believer. People say, "Oh, what running shoe should I get?" Well, what's working for you now? That kind of stuff. Then if it's Brooks and it works, then great. But I don't know. They're driving me nuts.
They're just a bit conservative for you, are they?
Well, I just there's so many innovative brands out there doing amazing things. I mean, look how much, and I'm just saying this because obviously I love Puma, but Puma, look how they reinvented themselves this year. They came back with some amazing shoes, and some of the like even Asics. You think how cumbersome and boring ASICs were for millions of years. And then all of a sudden, they just came out with a Nova Blast. And everyone went, wow, what a great shoe. So
it'd be interesting to know if it was a deliberate sort of corporate strategy, wouldn't it? That everybody's
ASICs was.
No, but like with Brooks, like everybody's chasing, with the carbon rod sort of revolution and all that sort of thing. Maybe they think, well, there is still a gap for people, everyday runners who like what they know and they can be. It's reliable for us. And we can take that part of the market where everybody else is chasing the PBers and all that sort of thing.
So what you're saying, their corporate strategy is to be boring.
Well, to be regular.
So I'm the CEO of Brooks. Right, Wilco, you're in charge of the running shoe department. What have you got for me this year? Oh, sorry, FORDY. What we've got is a brilliant idea. We're going to bring out exactly the same shoes as we did last year.
Because all my mates love them.
And we're still going to sell loads. And you'll go, thanks very much, because that's all that matters. Is that what you're saying they do?
Well, you can chase the market, can't you? And if the market in that particular area is going to get too cluttered and everybody's trying to get the look to sell to the same people,
boring is best.
Well, it's different. If everybody has said, it's Heinz baked beans, isn't it?
Yeah. I'll make you right. No, and the thing is, I would ask Toby because he wears Brooks, but he's not here, so there's no point really.
Well, I mean, I'll be wearing them on Sunday.
This is the thing, and it's a great segue into it. How are you feeling ahead of Sunday? Now, for those who don't know, Wilco's doing York Marathon. Let us know in the comments. Send us an email at, what is it again, Wilco?
longmanshow@gmail.com.
Yeah, and if you're doing the York Marathon or any other marathon this weekend, let us know in the comments. Now, I've got to give a shout out to Rachel Thurlow, who's going to be with you on this night. She sent us a lovely email. Love listening to the podcast. I'm doing Yorkshire Marathon this year. She's doing some other stuff as well, but I wanted to give her a shout out this week. I've had that email for about 6 months, but I've been saving it, Rachel, because I wanted to let you know the week of your marathon to wish you good luck. Al's just said, by the way, in the private chat we've got, apparently they got a mark. Is it 99? What is it?
So in your defence here, in the boring market, if you took a few percent of $99 billion, you'd be doing all right as marketing manager. That's how big the athletic footwear market is, apparently. So just short of 100 billion. So there's room for boring, I guess.
100 billion.
And why? 100 billion. That's what it says.
Still only half what those Saudis have got who just bought Newcastle.
100 billion. That's incredible, isn't it? No wonder.
Dollars, not pounds. Dollars.
Oh, dollars.
$100 billion market share. Oh, blimey. Yeah.
Most of that goes to
you can't stand why Brooks is boring.
I think, doesn't it?
And you think because their marketing costs will be zero, because basically people like Wilco buy them. They don't have to change anything except for a number every year and a few colours. And
job done.
And
no research and development department.
I'll have some of that. Yeah. So I suppose maybe we should start a shoe company.
Yeah. So I will talk about my week. It's been a bit mad. I had last Saturday, I did my last sort of 8 miles. It went okay, and I thought, right, okay, that's my last long run. We'll be all right. Went to the cinema to watch a Bond film in the afternoon. Came out, and I've got afterwards raging toothache, headache, shivers, and I thought, oh God, I've caught something. Emergency dentist on Tuesday, and so I've got antibiotics for an abscess, which is lovely. And then I've got my number hadn't turned up, so I was very stressful about that. I saw tweets saying, "Oh, if you haven't got your number by Thursday, don't worry. Get in touch with us and all this sort of thing." Thursday, I'm at my flat and I was looking out the window in a very sorry state when I saw the little postman walking along with his red bag on and ignoring my flat and wandering off into the distance, and I was all gloomy at the window. And so I sent them an email and said, "Where's I haven't got my number. I'm very worried. I'm very concerned." And they sent me an email back and they said, "We we've got your number. They got sent back because you didn't put your door number on the application form.
Schoolboy error. So it's your
So
fault.
I've got to go and pick it up.
So it's your fault.
I'll tell you what, that happening, because I've got a lot going on at the minute. You know, it's a busy time at work. I'm in the process of moving house as well, and everything's happened all at the same time. And I have been able to sort of like compartmentalize everything so that I can't worry too much about the move because I've got the marathon coming up, and I can't worry too much about the marathon because I've got the move coming up and all that sort of thing. But as soon as I got that email, all the tension just lifted. It was like, you know, oh, what an idiot. And like, I could laugh about it. And then now everything's calm. Everything's raring to go. I've just got to travel. I'm taking my daughter with me because her cousin lives in York. And she's warned me that she'll be very embarrassed if I'm one of those people who cry when they get over the finishing line.
Oh, you're going to cry, Wilco. You're going to cry. Get ready for that, bruv. That's
yeah. So yeah, she's going to have to lump that, I'm afraid. So yeah, sorry, Miles, you're going to have to get on with that, really.
I think that shows how your mind is, and I think it doesn't matter if you're doing your first half, your first 10K, your first marathon. There's those you know things, anxieties that go through your mind, and the smallest thing can set you off. And you know, and it's very easy to sit here and say, don't worry about it. You can control only what you can control. But when you're in the middle of it and you're waiting for your number, or you're waiting for your, what was it when we had London Marathon? Everyone was going on about the bags not being delivered, and everyone was having a paddy about the bags. Oh no, they had like 1 million of them at the expo. But yeah, it's amazing these little things that can set you off. So you've had some massive love on the comments, by the way, Wilco.
Yeah, thank you very much, everybody.
A lot of people saying good luck, and it'll be nice to see Gandalf when he's there.
Especially pink for you, Ian.
Pardon?
Yeah,
our friend Nettie down on Southend, she's dyeing her hair deeper pink, just so
deeper pink,
so that you can spot her.
So you could be the pink wizard, Wilco. You know, we call you Gandalf because you won't see it on the podcast, but Wilco's got this like light shining over him, like Gandalf when he went from grey to white. So he became.
It was worse when I had the beard.
He got the beard back, so he's gone back to being the white wizard. But we could call you the pink wizard because I think you should dye the bit of Barnet that you've got left. You've not gone as far as Al yet, but then Al is 102. You could dye it pink and be with Nettie, and you could run together, the dream team. How about that?
I won't catch up with her.
No, that's true. She's a machine.
That's going to be tough, isn't it?
She is. Yeah, but don't do yourself down, bruv. You've been killing it on a Tuesday night. You have been killing it.
I must say that for everybody whoever thinks, the group, getting together with the group on a Tuesday has been a massive help. You know, it's been really good, the training, the fact that there's been 6 or 7 of us who have done a marathon in the last week. There were 4 or 5 who did London, Sabrina, Claire, yourself, Toby, Eddie, Tracy, and Petra did Manchester last week. So it's been really good to sort of like pick people's brains and talk about stuff. And particularly in that middle part of the plan where you're banging in the miles, your long runs going up to about 10 or 11 miles, and you're doing a couple of sort of 5 or 6s during the week, and you can't really see the end of the tunnel.
No,
you're sort of like
week 7,
week 8. That is a real bloody slog. And it's great to talk to people, and they say, this is where this community just comes into its own, because people say, yeah, I feel exactly the same. I know what it's like. I had a bad run on Tuesday. My husband's driving me out the wall. I keep snapping at him, and you just feel like you're not alone, and all that sort of thing. I mean, I'd like to think that I'm quite mentally stable and solid, and I'm treating it as another long run on a Sunday.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm splitting it up into sort of chunks of when I'm going to have my gels and things like that, and just sort of like going to run it 4 or 5 miles at a time, and just go out and enjoy it, not beat myself up about a time. I've got a rough idea of what I'm going to do, but I'm not worried.
Yeah,
I'm not going to go chasing anything. I'm just going to go and enjoy it because it's the first one and see where it goes.
It's the same. You've got to have that mentality whether you're running park run or your first marathon. Just go out there, enjoy it. You're surrounded by an amazing community, an amazing club. We've got so many epic people, you know, all over the country, all over the world. We've got Ray. Big shout out to Ray.
Hi, Ray.
But yeah, you know, all over the world now, we've got, you know, like-minded runners. So you're never alone in these things. And it, you know, even if you're there on your own, which is unusual now, but even if you're there on your own, look what happened to me at Royal Parks. You know, bumped into Hayden and then we cruise around. You don't know. So yeah, 100%. Just go there, smile, have fun, and enjoy yourself. That's the biggest tip. Now, boys, I do have an email. Now, we've got about 1 million, right? So if we want more emails, people. We want stuff, your questions, whether you've got ideas, whether you want to come on, whatever it is, running related, maybe not running related, send it over to Ian.
longmanshow@gmail.com.
There we go. And actually, hang on, Toby's got this thing that he puts up. Where is it? There we go. Put it up on the screen for.
See, I've been saying that all night, and I thought, I hope I've got that right.
Gmail.com. But anyway, we want to hear from you. We are going to be doing an email special where we're going to be batting off about 50 emails that I realised that we hadn't answered. But please keep them coming in. We want to hear from you. We love the fact that you're so engaged with the second biggest podcast in where is it? Slovakia. Number 5 running pop-up. Could be higher now because these are old figures in the UK. So thank you very much. Keep telling all your running buddies about the podcast and the live stream. But yeah, I wanted to do one email, and she's actually on tonight, which is Penny Rushbridge. Sorry, Penny, if I've said that wrong, because I am an idiot when it comes to names and stuff. So massive thank you to and all the love to she loves the Long Run podcast. She is concerned about Alan being out late on a Friday every week. Is that okay with the home and stuff? I said, I actually messaged her back, said, don't worry, he gets looked after. Not a fan of Toby. She can't stand Toby, so that's good news that he's not on tonight.
Yeah,
by the way, if you haven't seen it, you're tuning in late, can you help with this, please? But yeah, so not a fan of Toby. Don't worry, he's not listening, so we won't tell him. She's asked, have we got any tips for increasing speed? Right, come on to that. And we've got, do you incorporate strength training into your training? And lastly, what do you enjoy most about running? So I tell you what, let's go round. There's 3 questions. There's 3 of us. I'll take, Al.
Yes,
you
sir.
can take strength training because you've just qualified as a level 60 PT or whatever you've done. You can do what you most enjoy about running, and I'll do the tips for increasing speed. How's that, boys? Does that sound fair?
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
PT Al, you start off with, do you incorporate any strength training in your training? Obviously you do. What can you recommend?
Yeah, well, first of all, I should do more. And I think that's probably true of kind of 90% of runners. Going out and running even 40, 50 miles a week will just train the same set of muscles week in, week out. Nothing wrong with that, but you're kind of missing out. The real reason for doing it is to allow you to really build up that strength endurance. And we do a lot of this when we're doing our coaching sessions. It's about being able to maintain form. And again, it's not just about lower body, it's about upper body as well. So getting an all over workout, doesn't have to be heavy weights, go low weights, do lots of reps rather than lift crazy weights, will help you with your ankles, with your knees, with your hips. You know, we talk a lot about arm drive. So if you've got strong upper body, strong core, that's all going to help you, particularly in the later stages of those long distance races. So those marathons, when the brain goes, if you can kind of just control the body a little bit because you've put in your strength and conditioning, you will see that benefit. So it's an absolute yes. Doesn't have to be 3 times a week, just once. Low weights, high reps, probably my advice for that one.
And that's a good lead, actually, Al, into what I was going to say about increasing speed. And I think it's a good way to finish the pod this week, Wilco, if you agree, about what we enjoy most about running. So I think that's a good way to finish. We'll come on to that one last. But I think increasing speed, I think if you can work on what Al just spoke about and build your strength and strengthen that core, and you know, your glutes and all those, you know, the power muscles that you need to get that explosive element of your speed, that will really help you. If you put that together with a really drilled in, decent training plan, revolved around speed. So, you know, a lot of effectively hit sessions in terms of training sessions for running, you know, your intervals, but they need to be what's the best way, tailored to you, your intervals. And you don't want to be doing intervals every week, because that's the worst thing. It's like, you know, just hitting it all the time. You want to put that in together with some fartlek. You want to chuck in some hills. You want to do some other form of speed play, progressive runs, and different form of running, and increasing your tempo sessions out, and stretching them out. So you're working that lactate threshold area for longer. All that kind of stuff with those, as I say, with those tailored speed drills, with what Al's talking about, will make you faster, and that will increase it. But it is that point, I think, and I say to all the groups that I teach and all the people that I teach, is that you all operate well within yourself. You do not believe how much more you have. And we've been doing a couple of sessions recently where we've been trying to find the edge, where you really are in terms of you know, you're hitting that sort of operating ceiling, you know, like a plane, and where it stops working. You can work a lot harder than you believe, and most of the time it's your brain saying, I don't want to do this. But there's so much more there, and you have to get through that barrier of self-doubt and that feeling of, you know, I don't want to do this, because that's your brain saying, oh, I don't like it, I'm being pushed too hard, because you're working right at the top and moving into those higher energy systems. You really need to push through that and keep working at that higher level. And it's only until you start really hitting that top of yourself, and breaking through those barriers and hitting that wall and going through that wall, is how you will increase your speed. And you can only do that, as I said, with your mind, but also with what Al's talked about with the strength and conditioning as well. That's really key to it. So yeah, I hope that helps. And I think the great way to finish the pod and the live stream this week is the question, what do you enjoy most about running, Wilco? Why don't you kick that off?
God, there's so much. Obviously Tuesdays are great, but I do really enjoy the mental release that it gives me, the time it gives me on my own to sort my head out, put my headphones on, get out, fresh air, and give myself a bit of mental space, and help me organize my head and organize my life, because I can think about all sorts of things while I'm out, about work, and the number of ideas and stuff that come to me, and things that I want to do, and stuff like that just come to me when I'm running along the road or running through the woods or something like that. It's amazing how many things can sort of be triggered off. Yeah. And it's been a massive benefit to me the last 4 years, me running. It's helped me cope with, I mean, I'm not saying I've got lots of terrible things going on in my life. I'm extremely fortunate in many respects, but it's given me an outlet and a focus to appreciate things in life and not worry, and gain perspective on things that I used to worry about and I used to be concerned about, that used to get on top of me. And I'm a lot calmer person for it. And I think that's what running's done for me. And I think that's the best thing about it.
Well said, bro. Well said. And I think probably a lot of people can get on that with you. I think there's a lot in that, bro. There's a lot in that. And I think, it's a lot of people who think the same as you. What about you, Al?
Yeah, no, I'm similar to me, and it's just finding that time for yourself, isn't it? And the release. And sometimes you just cannot beat going out and just running as long as you want or as fast as you want, and not having to worry about anything else. It's not always easy, and I've had my moments this summer where it's all got a bit too much, and I've had to ease it back a bit. But I'm kind of looking forward to getting back into some serious training, because those runs are, a key part of my day. So, totally with you on that one, Ian.
Cheers, man.
And when you get that finish line buzz, when you get your little PB or your medal, it all feels worth it. So,
yeah, I think, I think the only thing I can add to that, really, I think, I'm probably the same as you. I mean, I run obviously for my mental health, so I don't necessarily have to medicate and stuff like that. Yeah, I need that. That to keep me going, to stay out of those lows, to stay out of those holes that I find myself into if I'm not running. Like you, Ian, as well, I find inspiration when I'm out running for certain things, and you only need to ask Toby or Alan that I'll ring them up and say I've had a brilliant idea, and it's not, but I've had a brilliant idea. So there's a lot from that. But I think the other thing I would just add is and you spoke about it, Wilco, well earlier, is about the relationships and the community and the friendships and the love that it's brought. The people that I've met, you guys, everybody else in the club, the community, the friends, the people that I've met through running. Like classic example, like Hayden on Sunday. I've never run with Hayden before, but it was like running with my brother. It was incredible. And I think that's the one thing that running's given me, for somebody who doesn't particularly, believe it or not, like being around people, and that sort of stuff. And I, I don't like, I don't really like it much, from the anxiety side and things like that. So to be able to have people that that I can run with, like Toby, Eddie, everybody, Alan, you guys, it's lovely. And that's the thing that the running does for me. It gives me purpose, as much as anything else. So yeah, I think that's probably a great way. Well, no, I tell you, there's a better way to finish. There's one thing we need to work out how many cakes there actually was before we go. So no, there was not 2. Wilco, what do you reckon?
Oh, I'm buying it too.
You are a big buyer.
3.5.
Yeah, you're
only small portions.
No, I am a seller at 5. I am sure, and Carolyn's the only person who can.
That means I'd have eaten Sabrina's and Toby's and Russell's as well. So that wasn't.
Yeah, but if you look at the picture, Russ is wondering whose nicked is. If you look at the picture, you can't see it on the podcast, but Russell's sitting next to him and he's looking quite menacingly to find out who's nicked his chocolate cake.
Oh,
while Al's sitting in there with 2 plates.
Thanks, Sabrina. You busted me at 4.
Sab says it's 4.
Yeah, well, there we go. So
me.
it was 100% 4. And just
cold rice. That's all I'm saying. Cold rice from my main.
If you can, please, if you see this man near you in a Portaloo this weekend, his name's Toby Frost. Richard Head is willing to pay 50p for him to come home. If you call that number, let us know if it works.
It's probably best not to approach him. Just ring the number.
Just ring the number, and he may need some toilet roll. But if you could find Toby, because, I mean, how would you rate my production skills tonight, boys, out of 10?
Or solid 8.
Yeah.
Solid 8?
Yeah.
I think I've done well. I don't think I'm at the point in which I could take over. But to be fair, what I've proven is that any idiot can do this job. Is that fair?
It's fair. Well, it's fair.
We'll see what idiots do the job next week, because everybody else has had a week off and it's my turn. My streak comes to an end next week because I've got to go out on the lash with all my work colleagues around the gym for 18 months.
Out next week.
So, so unfortunately I won't be here, but that won't be any reflection of how I've performed at the Yorkshire Marathon, and I will keep everybody informed. I'll bore the life out of everybody about how it goes, if it goes well, which I'm hopeful and I'm sure it will. So thanks ever so much for joining us again on the long run. If you can't join us at 7 o'clock on YouTube and Facebook, then we are available to download at the usual sources for all your podcast needs, your Spotify, Yahoo, Apple, Amazon, all sorts of, wherever you get them from, you'll find us. Just put long run in and we'll crop up. So thanks ever so much for joining us again. Wish you good luck, everybody. Oxford Half, big, the Great South Run, everybody who's joining me in York, everybody else who's out this weekend. There's loads of stuff going on. We're all back. We're all raring to go. So we wish you all the best of luck, and we will see you next week. Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Cheers, everyone.